Captain Aria Novak stood on the bridge, her eyes fixed on the holographic display before her. The alien planet loomed large, a swirling mass of blues and greens that reminded her of Earth, yet was utterly foreign. "Entering orbit, Captain," announced Lieutenant Kai Chen, his fingers dancing across the control panel. "All systems nominal." Aria nodded, a mix of excitement and apprehension coursing through her veins. This was why she had joined the Terran Exploration Force, to push the boundaries of human knowledge and make first contact with alien civilizations. But in the decade since humanity had achieved faster-than-light travel, they had found plenty of alien ruins and artifacts, but no living, advanced species. "Any signs of life, Dr. Reyes?" Aria asked, turning to the ship's xenobiologist. Dr. Elena Reyes shook her head, her dark curls bouncing slightly. "Nothing conclusive, Captain, but there's something odd about the readings from the northern continent. It's like there's a blank spot in our scans." Aria's brow furrowed. "A blank spot? Natural interference?" "Unlikely," Elena replied. "It's too localized, too perfect. If I didn't know better, I'd say it was artificial." The captain's pulse quickened. Could this be it? The evidence of an advanced alien civilization they'd been searching for. She made a quick decision. "Prep a landing team. We're going to check it out." An hour later, Aria found herself leading a small team across the alien landscape. The air was breathable, if a bit thin, and gravity was close enough to Earth normal that they didn't need suits. Beside her walked Elena, scanner in hand, and Security Chief Xander Voss, his hand never far from his pulse rifle. As they approached the coordinates of the anomaly, the landscape changed. The lush alien vegetation gave way to barren rock, as if life itself shied away from whatever lay ahead. "There," Elena said, pointing. "Just over that ridge." They crested the hill and Aria's breath caught in her throat. Before them lay a massive structure, its sleek lines and smooth surfaces a stark contrast to the rugged terrain. It was roughly pyramidal in shape, but with curves and angles that seemed to defy Euclidean geometry. The material gleamed with an iridescent sheen, shifting colors as they watched. "My God," Xander whispered. "What is it?" Elena's scanner beeped frantically. It's incredible. The energy readings are off the charts. This thing is active, Captain." Aria took a deep breath, steeling herself. This was it. This was the moment that would change everything. "All right," she said, her voice steady despite the adrenaline coursing through her veins. "Let's make first contact." As they approached the structure, Aria couldn't shake the feeling that they were being watched. The surface of the artifact seemed to ripple slightly, as if reacting to their presence. When they were about 10 meters away, a seam appeared in the smooth surface, widening into an entrance. "Captain," Xander said, his voice tense. "I don't like this. We should wait for backup." Aria shook her head. "No time. Whatever this is, it's reacting to us. We need to seize this opportunity." She took a step forward, then another. "I'm going in. You two stay here and maintain contact with the ship. If anything happens," she left the sentence unfinished. "Aria, wait." Elena started, but the captain had already crossed the threshold. Inside, the structure was even more bizarre. The walls pulsed with soft light, and the air hummed with energy. Aria moved deeper, her heart pounding in her chest. She rounded a corner and froze. Before her stood a holographic projection of a being unlike anything she had ever seen. It was vaguely humanoid, but with too many limbs and a head that seemed to shift and change as she watched. When it spoke, the words formed directly in her mind. "Welcome, explorer. We have waited long for one such as you to arrive." Aria swallowed hard, forcing herself to respond. What are you?" The being's form rippled. "We are the Guardians, tasked with protecting this galaxy from a threat beyond your comprehension. And now, human, you have a choice to make. Will you help us save not just your world, but all worlds?" As the weight of those words settled on her, Aria realized that everything was about to change. The fate of humanity, No, the fate of the entire galaxy now rested in her hands. Aria stood motionless, her mind reeling from the Guardian's words. The fate of the galaxy. It seemed impossible, yet the gravity in the being's shifting form told her this was no joke. I don't understand, she managed to say. What threat? And why us? The holographic Guardian's form rippled, its many limbs undulating in a hypnotic pattern. The threat comes from beyond the galactic rim, a force of entropy and destruction that consumes all in its path. As for you, your species possesses a unique combination of traits: adaptability, creativity, and an indomitable will. You are the key to unlocking the ancient defenses we have prepared. Aria's mind raced. This was far beyond anything she had ever imagined when she joined the Terran Exploration Force. She took a deep breath, centering herself. What do you need us to do? The Guardian's form solidified slightly, taking on a more humanoid appearance. First, you must awaken the network. This structure is but one node in a vast web spanning the galaxy. Each must be activated by a human hand. As if on cue, a pedestal rose from the floor, a handprint glowing on its surface. Aria hesitated for a moment, then placed her hand on the pedestal. Instantly, energy surged through her body. It wasn't painful, but it was intense, like every cell in her body was suddenly awake and alive. The walls of the structure pulsed with light, and Aria could feel something awakening. It was as if the entire planet had suddenly taken a deep breath. Outside, Elena and Xander watched in awe as the artifact began to glow, its iridescent surface now blazing with light. The ground beneath their feet trembled. "What's happening?" Xander shouted over the growing rumble. Elena's eyes were wide with wonder and fear. I think it's waking up." Inside, Aria gasped as the surge of energy subsided. The Guardian's form was now clearer, more defined. "Well done, human. The first node is awakened, but this is only the beginning." Suddenly, a holographic map of the galaxy appeared, dotted with pulsing lights. "These are the other nodes," the Guardian explained. "They must all be awakened, and soon. The entropic force approaches, and we have little time." Aria's mind spun with the implications. "But that's hundreds of worlds. We can't possibly reach them all in time." The Guardian's form shimmered with what might have been amusement. "Alone, no, but you are not alone. There are other species in this galaxy, hidden and waiting. Some have fallen into barbarism, others have sequestered themselves away. You must unite them, awaken them to the danger. Only together can you hope to succeed." Aria nodded, her resolve hardening. "I understand. We'll do whatever it takes." As she turned to leave, the Guardian spoke once more. "Remember, Aria Novak, the power to save or doom the galaxy now resides within you. Use it wisely." Aria stepped out of the artifact, blinking in the sunlight. Elena and Xander rushed to her side, bombarding her with questions. She held up a hand, silencing them. "Contact the ship," she said, her voice steady despite the turmoil in her mind. "We need to return immediately, and get me a direct line to Terran Command. Everything's changed." The next few days passed in a blur of debriefings, strategy sessions, and frantic preparations. The news of the Guardians and the approaching threat sent shockwaves through the highest levels of Earth's government. Some wanted to ignore the warning, to focus on defending Earth alone. But Aria's impassioned plea, backed by the undeniable evidence of the awakened node, eventually won out. A month later, Aria found herself standing on the bridge of the horizon once more. But this time she wasn't alone. A small fleet of Earth's most advanced ships hung in orbit around her, crewed by the best and brightest humanity had to offer. "All ships report ready, Captain," Kai announced from his station. Aria nodded, her eyes fixed on the stars ahead. Somewhere out there were other alien races, potential allies in the coming storm. And beyond that, an enemy unlike anything humanity had ever faced. "Set course for the nearest unawakened node," she ordered. "It's time to unite the galaxy." As the fleet jumped to FTL, Aria couldn't help but feel the weight of responsibility on her shoulders. The Guardian's words echoed in her mind. The power to save or doom the galaxy now resides within you. She just hoped she was up to the task. The horizon emerged from FTL in a burst of blue light, the rest of the fleet appearing moments later. Before them hung a world of swirling purple clouds and jagged continents. Scans show an atmosphere similar to Venus, Elena reported from her station. Highly acidic, extreme pressure. No way we can land. Aria frowned. The Guardian artifact pulsed on her wrist, a constant reminder of their mission. We need to find a way to activate the node. Any signs of civilization? Kai's fingers danced over his console. I'm picking up some unusual energy readings from the largest continent. It could be artificial. Good enough, Aria decided. Prep a probe. We need eyes on the ground. The probe plunged through the planet's thick atmosphere, its reinforced hull barely withstanding the corrosive gases. As it neared the surface, its cameras revealed a startling sight. "Captain, you need to see this," Kai said, his voice filled with awe. The main screen lit up, showing a vast city of crystalline spires and floating platforms. But it wasn't the architecture that drew gasps from the crew. It was the inhabitants. Creatures that looked like a cross between jellyfish and octopi drifted through the air, their translucent bodies pulsing with bioluminescence. They moved with grace and purpose, clearly intelligent. First contact, Aria breathed. Again. Before they could celebrate, alarms blared across the bridge. "Multiple contacts," Xander shouted, coming in fast from the far side of the planet. A swarm of sleek, predatory ships emerged from the clouds. Their design was unlike anything in the Terran database. "They're charging weapons," Kai yelled. Aria's mind raced. They couldn't fight. Not here, not now. Everything depended on making allies, not enemies. "Open a channel," she ordered. "All frequencies, all languages we know. And pray they're listening." For agonizing seconds, there was no response. The alien ships drew closer, weapons hot. Then, a burst of static, followed by a series of clicks and whistles. The universal translator struggled for a moment before producing words. "Identify yourselves, intruders. Why have you violated our space?" Aria took a deep breath. "I am Captain Aria Novak of the Terran Exploration Fleet. We come seeking your help. The entire galaxy is in danger." There was a pause, then, "Explain." Over the next hour, Aria laid out everything they had learned from the Guardians. The approaching entropic force, the network of defensive nodes, the need for unity among the galaxy's species. When she finished, there was a long silence. Then the alien voice returned. "We have long feared such a threat. Our ancestors spoke of it, but we thought it mere legend. We will hear you out, Terrans. You may approach." Relief washed over Aria. It wasn't an alliance yet, but it was a start. As they descended through the atmosphere in specially designed shuttles, Aria couldn't help but marvel at the alien city. Up close, it was even more breathtaking. The crystalline structures seemed to grow organically from the ground, pulsing with an inner light. They were met by a delegation of the jellyfish-like beings who introduced themselves as the Jorani. Their leader, a large individual with pulsing patterns of blue and green, floated forward. "I am Eldek Sally," it communicated through a series of bioluminescent flashes. "We have much to discuss, Terrans." Over the next few days, Aria and her team worked tirelessly to convince the Zorani of the threat and the need for cooperation. It wasn't easy. The Zorani were an old race, set in their ways and distrustful of outsiders. But the evidence was undeniable, and the urgency of the situation couldn't be ignored. Finally, Eldek Sally approached Aria. "We have deliberated, Captain Novak. The Zorani will join your cause. We will awaken our world's node and add our strength to yours." Aria felt a weight lift from her shoulders. "Thank you, Elder. Together, we stand a chance." As they prepared to activate the node, however, A young Jirani named Lear approached Arya privately. "Captain, there is something you should know. Our long-range sensors have detected anomalies, vast regions of space where stars are simply gone." Arya felt a chill run down her spine. How far? Lear's tentacles rippled with anxiety. Too close. At the current rate, it will reach the outer arms of our galaxy within a standard solar year. The implications hit Arya like a physical blow. They had even less time than they thought. The entropic force wasn't just coming. It was already here. As she watched the Jorani node activate, bathing the alien city in ethereal light, Arya knew that the real challenge was just beginning. They had one ally, but they needed more. Many more. And time was running out. The next few months passed in a whirlwind of diplomatic missions, tense negotiations, and narrow escapes. With each world they visited, Arya and her growing coalition faced new challenges and encountered species beyond imagination. On the crystalline world of lyrics, they met the Songshapers, beings of pure energy who communicated through complex harmonies. It took weeks for Elena to develop a translation matrix, but once they could understand each other, the Songshapers proved to be powerful allies. The desert planet Carax presented a different challenge. Its inhabitants, the insectoid hive collective, initially saw the Terrans as a threat to their strict social order. It was only through Xander's quick thinking during an unexpected sandstorm that they earned the hive's respect and cooperation. But not all encounters went smoothly. The cybernetic Vex of Omega Prime refused to believe in the entropic force, dismissing it as organic superstition. It was only when a Vex scout ship disappeared into a growing void at the galaxy's edge that they finally agreed to join the Alliance. Now, aboard the horizon, Arya stood before a holographic display of the galaxy, surrounded by representatives from a dozen different species. The map was dotted with glowing points representing activated nodes, but vast spores remained dark. "We're making progress," Arya said, her voice tinged with determination and fatigue. "But it's not enough. The entropic force is advancing faster than we can activate the nodes." Sali, the Zorani elder, pulsed with concern. "Perhaps if we focused our efforts on the outer rim, we could slow its advance." "And leave the core worlds defenseless," countered K-Vex, the Vex ambassador. Its metallic voice was cold and logical. "Illogical. We must prioritize the most populated systems." Before the argument could escalate, a new voice cut through the debate. "There is another way." All eyes turned to Lyra, the Songshaper emissary. Her form shimmered with barely contained energy as she floated forward. "Our historians have uncovered ancient records speaking of a master node, a central point from which all others can be activated simultaneously." The room erupted in excited chatter. Arya raised a hand for silence. "Where is this master node?" Lyra's form pulsed with uncertainty. "The records are unclear, but they speak of a world where reality bends and time loses meaning. We believe it refers to a system on the edge of a supermassive black hole." Silence fell over the room as the implications sank in. Such a mission would be incredibly dangerous, possibly suicidal. But if successful, it could turn the tide of the war in an instant. Arya took a deep breath, weighing the options. "We can't afford to divert all our resources to this. We need to keep activating nodes the old-fashioned way, just in case." She paused, her gaze sweeping across the assembled aliens. "I'll lead a small team to find this master node. The rest of you keep pushing forward. We're in a race against time, and failure is not an option." As the meeting adjourned, Kai approached Arya. "Captain, I've been analyzing the data from our encounters with the entropic force. There's something odd about its behavior." Arya raised an eyebrow. "Odd how?" Kai pulled up a series of complex equations on his datapad. "Its expansion isn't random. There's a pattern to it, almost like it's searching for something," Arya finished, a chill running down her spine. Kai nodded grimly. "Exactly. Whatever this force is, I don't think it's mindless destruction. It has a purpose. The implications were staggering. If the entropic force was indeed sentient, with goals of its own, then everything they thought they knew about the threat might be wrong. As Aria prepared for the most dangerous mission of her life, she couldn't shake the feeling that they were missing something crucial. The fate of the galaxy hung in the balance, and the true nature of their enemy remained a mystery. Little did she know that the answers she sought would challenge everything she believed about the universe and her place in it. The horizon hung in space, a tiny mote against the backdrop of the swirling accretion disk of a supermassive black hole. The gravitational forces at play were immense, causing the very fabric of space-time to warp and twist around them. On the bridge, Aria stood with her core team, Kai, Helena, Xander, and representatives from their alien allies, Sully, Lyra, and Kavex. They had come too far to turn back now. "Sensors are going haywire," Kai reported, his fingers dancing over the controls. "The gravitational distortions are making it nearly impossible to get an accurate reading." Elena pointed to a spot on the main view screen. "There, that structure, it doesn't look natural." Floating in the space before them was an impossibly large construct, its geometry defying conventional physics. It seemed to phase in and out of existence, never quite settling into a fixed form. "That has to be it," Aria breathed. "The master node." As they approached, the construct seemed to react to their presence. Beams of energy lanced out, enveloping the horizon in a cocoon of light. "We're being scanned," Kavex announced, its cybernetic eyes whirring as it processed the data. "The energy signature matches that of the Guardian artifacts." Suddenly, a familiar presence filled Aria's mind. The Guardian's voice, more urgent than ever before. "You have come far, Aria Novak, but the true test lies ahead. The master node requires more than just activation. It requires understanding." Before Aria could respond, the energy field intensified, and she felt herself being disassembled. It wasn't painful, but the sensation of her consciousness being pulled apart and reassembled was disorienting. When she opened her eyes, she found herself standing in a vast chamber that seemed to exist outside of normal space and time. The walls, if they could be called that, shifted and pulsed with images from across the galaxy, past, present, and possible futures. Her team materialized beside her, each looking as bewildered as she felt. "Welcome," a voice echoed around them. A figure coalesced before them, its form constantly shifting between different alien species. "We are the architects, creators of the Guardian Network." Aria stepped forward. "We've come to activate the master node. The entropic force is." "We know why you have come," the architect interrupted, "but you do not yet understand the true nature of the threat you face." With a wave of its hand, the chamber filled with swerving images. Aria saw galaxies forming, civilizations rising and falling, and a pattern emerging across billions of years. "The universe exists in a cycle of creation and destruction," the architect explained. "What you call the entropic force is a necessary part of that cycle. It breaks down the old to make way for the new." Elena gasped. "You're saying it's natural?" The architect nodded, in a sense, but it has grown too powerful too quickly. The balance is upset. "Then why create the defense network?" Xander asked, his soldier's mind already calculating strategies. "To preserve what can be saved," the architect replied. "But activation alone is not enough. The network requires a guiding intelligence, one that understands both the necessity of change and the value of preservation." Aria felt the weight of countless lives settling on her shoulders. "And you want us to provide that intelligence?" "Not just you," the architect said. "All of you, together. Your unique perspectives, your different ways of thinking. This is what's needed to restore balance." The implications were staggering. They weren't just fighting to survive. They were being asked to take on the responsibility of shaping the future of the entire galaxy. As Aria looked at her team, Human, Jorani, Sunshaper, and Vex, she saw the same mix of fear and determination in their eyes. They had come too far to back down now. "We'll do it," Arya said, her voice steady. Whatever it takes. The architect's form seemed to smile. Then let us begin. What followed was unlike anything Arya had ever experienced. Their minds were linked, not just with each other, but with the entire Guardian network. She felt the vastness of the galaxy, the ebb and flow of cosmic forces, the delicate balance between creation and destruction. Together, they reached out to the approaching entropic force, not to destroy it, but to guide it, to channel its power into renewal rather than obliteration. The battle, if it could be called that, raged across the galaxy. Stars flared and died, planets were reshaped, and the very fabric of space-time buckled under the strain. But slowly, inevitably, balance was restored. When it was over, Arya found herself back on the bridge of the horizon. Her team looked exhausted but triumphant. Did we do it? Kai asked, his voice hoarse. Arya checked the sensors, then looked out at the stars. They seemed brighter somehow, filled with new possibility. We did, she said softly, but our work is just beginning. As the horizon set course for Earth, Arya knew that nothing would ever be the same. They had saved the galaxy, yes, but more than that, they had been given the chance to shape its future. It was a responsibility she never could have imagined when she first set out to explore the stars. The journey ahead would be long and challenging, but as she looked at her diverse crew, human and alien alike, Arya felt a surge of hope. Together, they would build a future worth fighting for. The return to Earth was met with a mixture of celebration and trepidation. The activation of the Master Node and the redirection of the entropic force had sent shockwaves through the galaxy, both literal and figurative. As Arya stepped off the horizon onto Terran soil for the first time in what felt like years, she was greeted by a world forever changed. It's not just about exploration anymore, Arya explained to a panel of world leaders and alien ambassadors. We've been given the responsibility to shepherd the very forces of creation and destruction. We need to rise to that challenge. The transition wasn't easy. Old rivalries and prejudices, both on Earth and among their alien allies, threatened to undermine the fragile coalition they had built. But the shared experience of facing cosmic annihilation had forged bonds that proved stronger than ancient hatreds. Kai, ever the analyst, had thrown himself into studying the new galactic order. The balance is delicate, he reported during one of their regular briefings. We can't just sit back and let things run on autopilot. Active management is going to be crucial. Elena nodded in agreement, and was seeing entirely new forms of life emerging in the wake of the entropic force's passage. The potential for scientific discovery is unprecedented. Xander, who had initially struggled to find his place in this new peace, had found a calling in training a new generation of explorers and diplomats. We need to be prepared for anything, he insisted. Just because we averted one crisis doesn't mean there aren't others lurking out there. As the years passed, the galaxy entered a new golden age of cooperation and discovery. The Guardian Network, guided by the collective wisdom of multiple species, helped to nurture fledgling civilizations and preserve dying stars. The entropic force, once seen as an existential threat, was now understood as a tool for renewal and rebirth when properly directed. Arya, now an elder stateswoman herself, stood on the observation deck of Harmony Station, a massive space habitat that served as a neutral meeting ground for species from across the galaxy. Below her, representatives from 100 worlds mingled, their differences celebrated rather than feared. Quite a view, isn't it? A familiar voice said behind her. Arya turned to seek Sali, the Zorani elder who had been with her from the beginning. Age had turned the aliens' bioluminescent patterns to a soft, wise glow. Sometimes I can hardly believe how far we've come, Arya admitted. Sally's tentacles rippled in what Arya had long ago learned was a gesture of agreement. And yet, the journey is far from over. The universe, it seems, has many more surprises in store for us. As if on cue, an alert chimed softly. A young aide, a hybrid of human and Sunshaper genetics, approached with a data pad. "Excuse me, Admiral Novak," the aide said, her voice carrying a slight musical lilt. "We've detected an anomaly at the edge of the galaxy. It doesn't match any known phenomenon." Arya and Sully shared a look, a mix of excitement and apprehension passing between them. After all these years, the thrill of the unknown had never faded. "Well then," Arya said, a smile tugging at her lips, "I suppose we'd better go take a look." As she moved to assemble a team, Arya reflected on the long, strange journey that had led her to this moment. From a curious explorer to the savior of the galaxy, and now a guardian of cosmic balance, her life had been more extraordinary than she could have ever imagined. But as she looked out at the stars, each one holding the promise of new discoveries and challenges, Arya knew that the greatest adventures still lay ahead. The universe was vast and full of wonders, and humanity, along with their alien allies, was ready to face whatever it had in store. The end was just the beginning, and the story of the galaxy, of life itself, would continue to unfold in ways that no one, not even the architects themselves, could predict. As the horizon, long since upgraded and enhanced with technology from a dozen worlds, prepared for its next journey into the unknown, Arya felt a familiar surge of excitement. The thing between her legs, her spirit of adventure, her unquenchable curiosity, was alive and thriving, ready to propel her and her diverse crew into whatever mysteries awaited them in the cosmic dawn of this new era. The galaxy had been saved, transformed, and reborn, and now it was time to explore it anew.